In today's video, I'm going to go over how to buy a house in 2023. This is Ari Rahimi, a full-time loan officer who make these YouTube videos on the side to provide with tips on how to buy a house from beginning to the end. The first and most important steps when people asking me how we can prepare to buy a house in future, early 6 months or a year, it's a credit score. So the credit score is one of the most important factors when it comes to applying for a mortgage loan. Having a good credit score and how you can build a good credit history over a 2-year or so time period, you can apply for different credit cards, 1, 2, or 3 credit cards every 6 months or a year, and having paying your gas or your grocery shopping, and then at the end of the month pay off these credit cards on time, and then this is how you can build your credit score. Other ways, it's like if you have a student loan. If you took out a student loan, the student loan is also a good way when you are making a payment on time. Or like if you have a car loan, you applied for a car loan, you are making these payments every month on time, and this is how you can have a good credit score after 2 years or so when you have a job. Second factor on getting prepared to buy a house is actually your job history. As a lender, we want to look at something around 2 years of job history, related job history, or constantly having these job history. And then that means if you are working full-time, 40 hours per week, this is something that as a lender we are looking to be constantly in the last 2 years. Or if you are a self-employed or commission-based only income, we want to look at something around 2 years of your tax returns. And I have another video talking about exactly what documentation you need as a self-employed or employed borrower, and these are different documentation that you need to provide. But for now, I'm just explaining that we want to see a 2-year history. But if someone just graduated from college and got a job offer, we can still count your last 2 years being in college and studying for your major. We can still use that as your job history, and that doesn't mean that you have to wait another 2 years. With just having these job offer from the company, if you are hired on salary or on a contract that doesn't have like a year or 2 year, you're not temporarily contract, you just got hired and you have these job offers on hand, this is something that we can use, and you don't really have to wait for the 2 years. For the gap of the employment, if you had a gap of the employment, for example 3 months, 6 months, or a year, because of COVID or any other situation that you had in your life, and you were out for a while, it's better to let your loan officer, your lender, know in advance. But most programs are accepting those gaps. If it's less than a year or around a year, would be acceptable. But we wanted to know a job history of 2 years, even with that gap, or before and after the gap, and you had just these related job position even in a different company, but we just want to make sure that you had that 2 years history. The third factor would be your assets, money that you are going to use to pay the down payment and the closing costs. The down payment could be anywhere from 3%, 3.5% for FHA loan, 5% for conventional, 10, 15, 20%, or even more than that. It depends on your situation. The most important one that we want to see is this money that is going to use for the down payment would be in your account for at least 60 days and be seasoned, because one of the documentation that we are requiring is your bank statements, and we don't want to see any cash deposit, any large deposit, or we want an explanation that how you got this money and where is the money is coming from. But for example, if you are receiving a gift from relatives, for example, from your parents, that's totally acceptable. And as long as we can source the money and we know that what or where exactly the money is coming from, we are good to use that as your down payment. And on the closing cost, just a little explanation that normally these closing costs, it's the fees that a small portion is lender fee, some is escrow, and some is title fees. And I would explain the whole situation of the closing costs on a different video for sure. And I would explain exactly what are these costs and how much you have to pay. But just keep in mind, whatever house price that you are looking for, 1 to 2% of that price would be approximately your closing cost. So be prepared. But there are like different programs that would help you even for the closing costs or for the down payment. There are some down payment assistance programs. And it's just depending on your situation, but your loan officer who work with the down payment assistant and they are trained on down payment assistant and they have a license, they can explain exactly which program is good for you and what program you can use to help you out as a first-time buyer for down payment assistance. And then the first-time buyer is considered anyone who didn't buy a house or didn't own a house in the last 3 years. For example, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if you bought a house and you sold it and it's sold and you don't have any house right now and it's 3 years past, you are considered as a first-time buyer. So just make sure to talk about all these little details with your loan officer, with your lenders, and they would be the people who can help you exactly locate your situation on the best program out there that would help you and benefit you the most. Lastly, I want to talk about budgeting. Budgeting means that if you can count how much you are making every month and how much you have debt or you have payments that you need to pay every month, it's really important. Sometimes as a lender, when we run your credit, we can see some that reported on your credit history, like your car loan payment or your credit cards payment. But if you are having a rent, or if you are paying for daycare, or child support, or any other payments that we cannot really see on your credit history, and you will still have this obligation every month to pay, it's really important to just head count those, just add them up together and make sure that you are comfortable with the payment that we can qualify you as a lender. Because the qualification or approval on a mortgage payment is actually based on your credit history and based on credit report, whatever we can see on those reports. And then if you have these other like how much you're paying for gas every month, how much you're paying towards the grocery, these are not something that we can really see and count. We are counting them approximately. We have some programs and we have some calculation based on the experience of all these lenders and what we have and what we be trained on those. But still, it's good for you to see what is the payment that you are really comfortable as a first-time home buyer, as a homeowner, to have as monthly payment for your mortgage. Because when you are moving from a rental property, from a condo, smaller condo, or even a house to another house that you are own, or even a condo that you are the owner, your responsibility is a little more, and you might even go to a bigger house. And for example, really simple, your electric or your gas or your water bill might be higher. So you want to be prepared for these higher payments, because you want to be comfortable making your mortgage and still having your good life and be a homeowner. These were some important steps that it's better to take before you apply for a mortgage loan or get prepared to buy a house in 6 months or a year. But just don't hesitate to talk to a lender, a loan officer, because they can really guide you on how to budget or how to look for which steps. And it's never too early. If it's like you're buying a house situation would be in 2-3 years, maybe it's a little soon. But if you are planning to buy a house in a year or so, it's better to talk to a lender, because they can walk you through the steps and they can give you some tips on how to get prepared easier before applying. And it's not that, and don't hesitate about running your credit, because we have some pre-qualification and verbal pre-qualification that we can just look at your documentation and ask you a few questions and give you a pre-qualification verbally based on what the information that you are giving us as a lender. And it's not necessary to run your credit if you are not ready to buy in like 3 to 6 months. So, but just keep in mind, buying a house is a huge step for everyone to take, and it's important to know and get prepared before applying. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you like my video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any question or comment, please let me know on the comments, and I would be appreciate if you can subscribe my channel. And I make sure to cover all the house process, all the home loans process on my videos, and help you out with buying your house by buying the American dream house. Thank you so much. See you soon. Bye.